Don't eat the foot. Hey, what up everybody, and welcome to my new digs. Today we're going to be doing a very special roasted chicken, one that you might not see every day. Nonetheless, very delicious. We're going to be serving it with a brown sauce and some white rice to match. Stick around. It'll be delicious. It'll be interesting. It'll be tasty. Let's get to it. Alright, so we've greased up the bird. We've covered the feet. We're going to throw this into the oven at 450 degrees for about 40 to 45 minutes. We're going to see where we're at. At that point, we're going to take off the foil and we're going to let the feet catch up for a little bit longer until the bird is completely cooked. Alright, so here we have shallot, garlic, carrot, and celery. We're just going to chop these up quickly. We're not going to bother peeling them because they're going to go get discarded after we make the sauce anyway, so it's all good. Standard mirepoix to go inside of our gravy just to make it extra delicious. So instead of making it sit through my chopping, we'll just fast forward through it. Just getting some neutral oil in here. Going to start off with our aromatics. We're going in with our celery, carrots, and onions. These are very high in water content, so we want to start breaking these down. We do want to take these all the way to the point where they're almost burnt, because that point where they're almost burnt will add a tremendous amount of flavor to your gravy. It's very similar to roasting bones in the oven or the mirepoix and taking it to that point of beyond browning. So we're going to get this on the stove and brown this up nice. Alright, so I did throw that on the stove at about a 6 or a 7, moderate, medium to high heat, so that we can shorten the amount of time it takes to brown and get to that caramelized point that we're looking for. I'm going to stay away from adding salt, because salt will draw out the moisture and then we risk boiling the vegetables when we really want to promote browning and the slow release of the water that's in the vegetables, allowing optimal browning and allowing us to get to that point where it gets almost burnt without taking like an hour and a half. So as you can see, it's just doing its thing. Very simple. We're just watching. We're going to be mixing every so often, just to make sure that everything is doing its job evenly and at the same time. We're just going to care for it as it cooks. We'll check in with you when it's further along its caramelization journey, if you will. So we're just going to keep that at a medium high heat, letting that develop in flavor. We haven't yet thrown in the garlic because we don't want that to burn. We're going to throw that in a little bit later once those vegetables have come a little bit further its way. We're also going to add this, which has a long time been a secret to my brown sauces or my meat sauces, particularly beef. It's anchovy paste. This is great stuff. As long as you don't put too much, it won't be fishy. It will actually give the sauce a depth of flavor, further depth of flavor. It will also bring out the meatiness in a dish, again, particularly beef, and that's what I use it for when I'm making like a beef stew or what have you. I'm usually adding anchovy paste. Now, this gravy is a brown gravy. I am going to be using a beef stock that I've rendered tons of gelatin into a couple days ago, so that's going to be the liquid ingredient to it. So I figured that a nice bit of anchovy paste will bring it that much further and give us a little bit more rounded, beefy flavor. So I would suggest you guys experiment with anchovy paste in the future, unless you already have. It's great stuff. I, back it 100%. But again, don't use too much. So yeah, there you go. All right, that's still doing its thing, but you know, when we're cooking, we really want to try to focus on using gentler heat. You know, achieving a sort of gracefulness in your cooking. You don't want things spattering everywhere and smoke and burning. If things are too hot, tone it down. You know, just take a little bit more time to do it, to cook it, whatever it is you're cooking, and you'll probably render a better result, even if it's at a lower heat. You know, cooking shouldn't be something that stresses you out. So if you're cooking at a temperature that makes you uncomfortable, it's okay to hone it back and explore a more, like I said, a graceful way of executing your dish. In this case, I've put it down to about medium heat. I'm letting it do its thing. Let me just show you what we're dealing with. So as you can see, it's starting to get its caramelization. The onions probably had the least amount of water in them. Or probably expel the water the easiest out of all three vegetables. So it's starting to brown quicker than the rest, but that's okay. We're going to let it keep going. There's bay leaf in there as well. Just going to let it all come together in terms of a flavor and develop this caramelization that will add to a depth of flavor to our sauce. Once that's browned everywhere, beyond the corners of the vegetables, that's when we'll add the garlic and the anchovy paste. I'm also going to be throwing in some of this stuff. Sorry, this stuff, which is ketchup. This is a no-name brand ketchup. You probably could and probably should use a paste if you have it. We don't have it right now. And besides, I actually like the flavor of ketchup within a gravy, as long as you don't use too much, and as long as it doesn't taste like ketchup. It can caramelize. It would take that you watch it extra carefully. There is a high amount of sugar and probably syrup in here. Yeah, glucose, fructose, probably a syrup of some sort. So you want to watch it so it doesn't burn, because that could ruin everything. But provided that you can add it in a small amount, that will add to the body of the flavor of the sauce. It can replace tomato paste. I've done it before, but again, you gotta make sure you're not adding too much, and watch and see how it reacts in the pot when you add it. All right, and I think we're at the point where I want to start to add some extra actions to this sauce. So at this point, we're going to add the garlic. We're also going to get in there with the anchovies. I'm literally putting like that much. Like that much, that's it. And I'm also going to up the amount of oil that we're dealing with. And I'll tell you why in a second. We're actually putting a shocking amount here, but there's a reason for it. Let's get this back on the stove. Now, I'm a very big proponent of making gravies from neutral oil. They're high in, they have a very high smoke point. They're cheap, and consequently so am I. So, you know, a lot of the time I don't want to throw butter inside of a sauce, because I know that that was $6 to get that block, and now I don't have as much, and you know, I'm just don't want to be spending that much money. Oil, on the other hand, is much more resourceful for me, so I'll use that instead, and I'm a very big proponent of it, and our sauces come out just as beautiful. So, that being said, we're going to be using oil to build a roux. It needs a few minutes to do its thing, so we'll see in a second. Okay, and now I think we're ready for the next action. You can see that the vegetables are browned beyond the outside edges of them. The garlic has started to blister. I don't know if you can see that, but it started to blister on the outside. We don't want it to go too far because we are going to stew this. There's a point where we need to brown the flour as well, so we want to consider that. So at this point, I think we're good to add the flour in. So let me just get this hot while I get the flour prepared. Alright, so if I were to guess, this would probably be equal portions flour to oil. Just gonna add it in there, stir it up. We don't want this to be too thick. We want it to be a little bit wetter than wet sand, because we want to account for some time for it to brown further. That looks good to me. We are going to thicken it again later, once the sauce is almost done. But we're going to be doing that with cornstarch, so we're going to be using a double thickening method to get the gravy exactly where we want it. Just wanted to give you a better view into what's going on into this pan here. You see the texture? It's a little bit loose, but there's a thickness to it. This is what we want to brown to, like a darker brown. I'll show you exactly what I mean in a few minutes there. But yeah, this is what we're dealing with for now. Here's another thing I'm a big proponent of. Browning. Jamaican browning. It's used in a lot of, stews and stuff to give it some color. But this stuff's gravy, man. Like, provided that your flavor's going on right in the pot, and you just need a little bit of aesthetically, pleasing element added to it. I don't even know what the fuck I was just trying to say there, but use the browning. It makes your sauces look way better, as long as you don't use too much, because if you use too much, this will literally turn your shit black. So use sparingly, have a light touch, but yeah, 100% Jamaican browning. Dope ingredient. We're going to be putting it in our sauce today too. Shit. Okay, it's also at this point that, sorry, I should probably say it's been about 3 or 4 minutes since the last time we checked up on this. I think it's about ready for the ketchup. You can see that the flour has taken a little bit more of a browner color. It's not where I want it to be yet, but I also want the ketchup to caramelize. We've got to be very careful when we add this, because this has a high liquid content which could cause spattering. So I've taken it off of the heat. I'm putting in about a tablespoon of this in, and that's about all we need. And as you can hear, it's already starting to sizzle, dispelling the water content in the ketchup. If we put too much, one, there's a lot of vinegar in here too, so you'll really taste it. So make sure you don't add too much. And again, we added this with the intention of browning it, of caramelizing it. And if you add too much, it'll be very, very, very difficult to caramelize the ketchup, no less whatever else is happening on in the pot. So, a tablespoon is about good. Take it off the heat. Be safe. If you keep it on the heat, it will spatter all over you, and you might get burned. Take it from somebody who's been burned a lot. Once it's been incorporated, throw it back on the heat. Alright, so as you can see, the roux is taking on a darker brown color. It's beautiful. There's also a very strong nuttiness going on. The veggies are like brown to black. I'm not worried because I'm not seeing smoke, so we're going to be getting a lot of flavor from these. This is where I'm going to be adding my high gelatin beef stock that I made a couple days ago. I'm going to allow this to cook down for about 45 minutes on a medium to medium high heat. So I'm going to add that in, stir to deglaze. We're going to get this back on the heat. Alright, so sauce check. As you can see, it's come together now. It goes through a bit of a transformation. It starts off pretty gnarly, and then it comes together once the heat is raised, and then it develops the emulsification, or the sauce, or the liquid matrix. So just stick with it, let it come up to temperature, and as you can see, it just slightly thickens. And we're going to keep going with this, allowing the liquid to reduce, thereby thickening the sauce. And then we're going to judge it, and then we're going to be adding some more cornstarch where necessary to make it thicker, get it where we want it to be. All right. Actually, on second thought, I am going to add a little bit of mustard powder. Mustard being an emulsifier, which is something that binds oil to water, or a water-based addition to your sauce. Hopefully that will just help bring it together and stabilize it. You can also use Dijon mustard, just a little squirt. You're not trying to get any flavor out of here. You're just trying to get the emulsification supported by another medium. So a little bit of mustard powder will help. Let's just get this back on the stove, sorry. About 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. Now, the biggest mistake I see people do when they're adding water or making cornstarch slurry is that they add too much water. The point of a slurry is to thicken your sauce, but if you add too much water, all you're going to be doing is introducing more liquid to your sauce, or to your soup, stew, whatever. One sec. So you don't want to add too much water to your cornstarch slurry. Really take your time to help dissolve as much as you can the cornstarch into the water. It will settle after a while of sitting, and you do need to mix it before you add it to your pot. But I want to get this ready for when we need to add it. We're still going to let the gravy thicken a little bit longer before we add this, but important to get your mise in check, right? Right? Y'all know it. Alright, so I guess it's because of the high gelatin content in the stock. This is thickening up beautifully. It's getting a very luxurious look and feel to the sauce. It's already starting to coat the spoon, so I'm not going to actually use the cornstarch slurry. The color is beautiful as well, but I want to reinforce that with just a drop or two of some browning, just to make it a little bit darker and try to accentuate that luxuriousness of the sauce just a little bit. And as you can see, it darkens just ever so slightly. You know, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. It's not there yet. It still needs to reduce a little bit further. And we still need to add some of our savory components to this. But for now, we're just chasing the texture of the gravy. And in a little bit, we're going to be adding a little bit of flavoring to ramp up the flavor of it. So we're going to get this back on the stove. And the texture is becoming really, really beautiful. So it's at this point I'm going to add some flavoring to this to ramp up what's going on in that pot. First addition is good old mushroom powder. And some black pepper. Chicken classically goes well with mushroom and black pepper. So we're really trying to get some of that extra flavor into here. Look at this. Let me just tilt it for you. Look how beautiful that is. Just needs to reduce a little bit further, but we really wanted to get some of that flavor developed along with the sauce. So we're going to add it in now and put it back on the stove. Here we are. Done. Ooh. Let's plate it up. Oh, actually, we're going to let it rest for like 10 minutes, then we'll plate it up. And as for the sauce, as you can see, it's got a beautiful texture to it. Beautiful. All right, this is at this point we're going to be adding the salt. This is kosher. I'm going to give it another 5 to 7 to 9 minutes on the stove, and hopefully that'll be it. All right, y'all. Moment of truth. We're ready to plate up. Gravy's a little bit chunky, so we're going to strain it. Just going to do it for one portion with you right here. So it's going to pour a little bit of sauce through a strainer and let it fall. Help it along a little bit. Just help it drain. We're not looking for perfection here, all right? I'm just trying to make this pretty for you. But in my own world, I just throw it on a plate, throw some sauce on it with some rice, and we're good to go. Let's get the chicken. One beautiful, lonely chicken wing. Chicken leg, sorry. It's a little bit of parsley. And here you go. It's a roasted chicken with brown gravy. The foot's still attached. Ay, gorgeous. Here's a little bit of a different angle for you. Don't eat the foot. And there you go, folks. All right, let's go in. I'm gonna give this to my wife, so I'm just gonna take a small piece with some of that gravy. Oh my God, that skin is so crispy. Holy cow. She's gonna love this. That chicken. Oh, that gravy is so deep in flavor. Oh my God. Holy. The gelatin in that gravy really comes through. If you have the opportunity to take some beef bones, maybe like any beef bones you can get at the grocery store, cook them down for a while, develop that gelatin. That sauce you'll make from that stock will be unbelievable. All right. That's it for today. Welcome back to my channel. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for being around. Like, subscribe, share, comment, do all that stuff. Help that algorithm pick you up, back up. And let's get on to some other recipes. Salute.